Welcome to Promote, Profit, Publish. I'm your host, Juliette Clark. And today's guest, stay tuned. This is going to be a great episode. We have Desiree Duffy from Books That Make You and Black Chateau. She is also the leader and founder of Book Fest, which is a big event every year. They're going to have it, I believe, in October, the end of October this year. So great interview. But before we get started, I just want to remind you that this week on Friday, we have our event. This month's event will be Chris Johnson, and she's going to be talking about putting together your grand manuscript. So if you've been thinking about writing a book, haven't pulled the trigger, this is going to be the pre-game show. What do you need to get in place to get that book out there? So tune in Friday. You can go over to bamegtraining.com and get yourself a spot for it. If you guys haven't been there before for these types of trainings, they are interactive. They're fabulous because you actually get to be a part of not only the Promote, Profit, Publish episode, but you get to interact with the person who's doing the training, which I think, quite honestly, a lot of times we can follow instructions, but it's nice to be able to ask questions and get answers in real time. So Desiree Duffy is an advocate for spreading stories. And by that, I mean storytelling, not gossip. Her expansive marketing, event production, broadcast, and public relations background, mixed with her passion for storytelling, led her to found the multi-award-winning full-service marketing and public relations from Black Chateau in 2016, Books That Make You in 2018, and the Book Fest in 2020. She is the executive producer for events, including the Book Fest, the annual Beach Bound Book Bash, and Jingle Books, and was the license holder and lead organizer for TEDx Reseda Boulevard in 2019. She hosts and is the executive producer of the Books That Make You show, which I was on. It's fabulous. If you're an author, you definitely should be watching her show or listening. She's programmed panels and placed speakers for a wide range of writers' conferences and organizations, including the Alliance for Women in Media, Digital Hollywood, the Paley Center for Media, IWOSC, Los Con, the Twin Cities Book Festival, Women in Business, WriterCon, and others. Duffy is a member of the International Academy of Digital Arts and Sciences, on the board of directors for Writers and Publishers Network, the past president and advisory board member of the Alliance for Women in Media in Southern California, and a member of the Los Angeles chapter of the Women's National Book Association. Black Chateau holds corporate memberships with the Horror Writers Association and the Independent Book Publishers Association. She is a graduate of Marian University and Santa Clarita's College of the Canyons. Yay, I used to live in Santa Clarita. She holds a Bachelor of Science degree in English and Communication and an associate degree in Art and Marketing and certificates in e-commerce, business, and entrepreneurship. Desiree Duffy spends her time between Southern California, Oklahoma, and everywhere bookish events and book lovers can be found around the world. You guys are really going to love this, so stay tuned. Desiree, welcome. It's so great to have you.
Oh, thank you for having me. I'm excited.
Guys, you have no idea. I was introduced to this woman by my friend Jackie Jordan, and she does so much stuff and knows so much about this industry. I think you're all going to be super excited about this. So let's jump into this. What inspired you to start Books That Make You, and what was your vision for the whole platform?
Books That Make You started as this place that we could have content and articles about writing and authors and books. It's really for those who have a love of books, bibliophiles, and all their many various shapes and forms. So in many cases, that includes writers, authors, because if you write, you should be reading books, at least in my opinion. And there's something special. I think a lot of us who love books and carry that, all the way through our lives, we just know that sensation of holding a book and reading a book, making books our friends. So it was really just designed, and that's where the name came from. Books that make you what? Afraid, excited, hungry. There's so many things that books make us do. So it's all about, underneath it all, the feeling that books give us inside.
Yes. And I love that you said that feeling because it's not just the content of the book. There's so much going on with, am I going to listen to the book? Am I going to hold the book? Am I going to do it electronic? And people have such big opinions about all of it too.
Yeah, they do. They really do.
Yeah. So, okay. How do you select which authors and books to feature on your site and your show, which I didn't mention? You also have a show with the same name.
Mhm. Yeah, exactly. So Books That Make You as a brand has the Books That Make You show. And by the way, so folks know, Juliet is a guest on the Books That Make You show. I'm not exactly sure off the top of my head when that episode is coming out, but it's soon. And yeah, we interview authors and talk about books. Obviously, we do a lot of events with Books That Make You too. For example, the LA Times Festival of Books. Books That Make You is there every year with a tent. We have authors that are there doing in booth signings, and we do promotions all around that. And then we have, like I mentioned earlier, a lot of that content, articles about books, listicles about books. We feel that the listicle as a type of format for, letting people know the 10 best books to bring to the beach this summer or the best books to buy dad for Father's Day. Those types of listicles, then we promote not only on the site where they live, but then we promote them far and wide on other websites as well. Plus, there's other things. We do author Q&A style interviews, the written interviews. We do book reviews, and we even give special hearted distinctions to books that are of the upper echelon, like the top 10% of books. The whole idea there is for the readers, it helps readers discover new books to read. So there's a lot that we do with Books That Make You, because underneath it all, it's all about having the reader and the writer community come together.
And I love your listicles idea. I was talking to one of my business partners the other day after you and I talked about listicles, and we're like, what a great place for impulse buyers who don't know what to get. That dad who has everything, that, for Christmas, that person who has everything. It really supports that kind of impulse buy that my partner and I've been talking a lot about lately. How do we capture those people as gifts, as because it seems like the marketing community has sort of forgotten them with all of that. What do you hope that readers and listeners take away from Books That Make You? Because I love your focus on readers.
Yeah. And we've had this conversation kind of on the side because we both work with authors in various ways, shapes, and forms. And it's interesting because when you talk to an author about promoting their book, you give them the platform to do that, whether it be in an article or on a stage, a virtual stage. We do events again with Books That Make You. We do Beachbound Book Bash where authors talk about their books. Also founded the Book Fest, where authors can talk about their books to other readers. But then this thing happens with writers where, and I think it's because the industry has trained them and shown them because they themselves have learned from other authors. So they probably saw authors speak on a panel about writing their first page, and they've heard editors talk about how to develop characters better. They've heard marketers talk about how to promote your books. So the first thing that they want to do when you say, hey, I'm going to put you up on a stage and you can talk about your books, they don't think in terms of I'm talking to the readers. They want to basically preach to the choir. If you're familiar with the saying, they want to talk to other authors. And it's like a mind shift, I think, that many authors should highly consider. I'm not saying you shouldn't be talking to other authors. And that's one of the things that's great about the writing community is there's a lot of helping the ones that are just starting out. But once you kind of get to that level and you've released the book or books, think about what is the message of your book? What can you say to the reader? You're also selling and promoting your own book and your own writing. So if you're telling other authors how to craft their characters and what they need to do to publish their book, you're not really speaking to the readers. And that distinction, it's almost like a paradigm shift in the way some authors should be thinking about their books. And that's one of the things that we do with Books That Make You is give give the reader, the ones that love reading, giving them the chance to explore and experience books in so many ways.
Yeah, I feel like this the rise of the experts contributed to this because now, you can write a book, you become an influencer, you're doing all these stage appearances, and suddenly it becomes about you and your influence instead of the people that are reading the book. So I think there's been a lot of that that's happened along the way. That I actually remember being on an interview with an author, and I wanted to smack her a little bit. She kept saying, I would ask her questions, and she kept saying, "Oh, read the book to find out." And I'm like, if you keep saying that, they're not going to read the book. Like, it's it was just a weird answer. Like, she needed a good PR firm to tell her, "You don't say that. You answer the question."
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Exactly. And I've talked to authors too, and everybody has heard or seen that kind of interview too. And it's like, don't be that author or that guest. It's okay to maybe say it once, especially if you have something that really needs to be teased out and understood in your book. In my book, I have the 10 steps to do XYZ. Well, then you probably need to read the book if you're doing a 10-minute interview. But yeah, to your point, that's exactly it. A lot of authors don't know how to speak about their books and the ideas. And if it's a nonfiction book, oh, Juliet, those authors got it easy. It's the fiction writers that really it can be really hard to speak about their book in a way that the average person is going to understand because they tend to get a little bit caught up in theme and characters and world building and all of those types of things. But yeah, I love nonfiction books because so many times the nonfiction book, especially if it's business, you kind of talk about the rise of the influencer, self-help, or even some memoirs, especially if they're sneaky memoirs, they're offering something. You're already giving advice or tips or things that people can use. So I'm on your side. People need to lean into that a lot when they're talking about their books.
Yeah, they do. One of the books I really felt did the reader thing really well was Story Brand, because there were all that, like, here's how we do it. It wasn't all about him, but here are the exercises that you can engage in that. So I always love that kind of thing. Um, can you share the memorable moments or a standout interview from Books That Make You? Something that just kind of blew you away? Because as a podcaster, we have those moments where we get these unexpected nuggets that are so valuable.
The first thing that comes to mind, he was such a sweetheart. And I always butcher his last name. So apologies in advance. But Justin Badaloni.
Oh, Baldoni.
Baldoni. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, I interviewed him probably about a year and a half ago. His book is called Men. And wow, was it a great book. As somebody who interviews authors, if you've ever looked at the chapter headlines and tried to pull some questions and quotes for your interview, they were written so well. He did the book so well, and his points and his messaging was spot on. He was not only fun, but just informative. Like, he really understood what it took to write a good book, to deliver that information. And to your point, we were just making right now, when I was asking him questions, he was just giving me so many nuggets and so much information that I think not only men, because this book is kind of written for men, with the idea of, are you man enough? But it was really insightful as a woman, as a person of any gender to read it. He just had so much wonderful things going on. And now when I see him in the unfortunate spotlight that's happening right now, because this is the first one that came to mind. I didn't mean to pull up some pop culture stuff like that, but it's like, ooh, yeah, you get a sense when you talk to somebody, and I just got such good guy vibes from him. So yeah, that's the first one that came to mind.
Yeah, isn't that interesting? And you know what? I refuse to watch that. I don't know why. There's something about that story that doesn't make sense, and I refuse to follow it. And but I'm one of those. I used to sell high-end real estate in LA, so I am so unimpressed by those people. So many of them are not impressive.
Exactly. I hear you.
You know that I used to live in LA as well. So
Exactly.
how do you think? uh, books that make you helps foster a sense of community. Because when I look at your site, when I see everything's going on, I can feel that community shining through. And that is rare that you can feel that from a website.
Oh, well, thank you. That's a high compliment. That's exactly the intention behind it is making everybody feel warm and welcome and part of that community. And we do that on social media a lot. It's inclusive and it's interactive. Even just a couple hours before I was getting ready for this interview, talking with the team because one of our events is coming up and we were talking about what kind of games can we do? What kind of interactive type stuff can we do on social media that supports the event? So sometimes we'll do like polls and questions. We like to do a lot of giveaways. The books that make you cite does we always have at least one giveaway going at any given time. So when we do an event like the Beach Bum Book Bash, for example, or Jingle Books, we have several that we do throughout the year. There's usually a giveaway that's attached to that. So the authors, they go up on the virtual stage, they're talking about their books or, exploring those themes or at an event. But then behind the scenes, there's a giveaway that's associated with it too. So it's not just one thing here or there. Everything is interconnected. And I think that helps build that community. We also do a newsletter. I got my little guy back here. This is the Webby Award that we won. Now he's going to make a bunch of noise behind me because I touched him. It's the Webby Award that we won for the books that make you newsletter. So every month we send out the newsletter and it's a recap, authors from the books that make you show. It's giveaways, it's book reviews. It's basically consolidating into one nice, fast, easy to read newsletter so people always feel connected and part of the community.
Yeah, you guys have done a great job with that. And the website's adorable too. I mean, it's really, you can tell it's about storytelling versus mine that's just kind of, here's the publishing stuff and here are the things, here's the content. I could use your services making that more user friendly. What trends and changes have you observed in the book industry since launching books that make you? Because you guys, how long have you guys been in business?
Since 2018, we've
So
had books
you've
that make
seen
you.
a lot. I know I've been since 2010 and it's enormous changes. But what have you seen since 2018 that has been like a real game changer for authors?
For authors, well, I think I have to call out the elephant in the room. In recent years, artificial intelligence has really sideswiped, I think, the industry in a lot of different ways. From the author point of view, I don't think anybody would have predicted just a few years ago that large language models, ChatGPT, et cetera, could write and be as creative as they are. And I think there's a lot to unpack there without going into too much detail, but we're starting to see from the consumer side, people recognize AI slop
Yeah.
already. So I think there was this moment of the robots are coming to take our jobs because the writers all thought they'd be coming to take over the manual labor jobs first, to wait a second. In many ways, it's elevating authors. If a writer is relying too much on AI to write their book for them or to do too much for them, it shows. That storytelling voice that AI has tends to have a lot of sameness to it.
Mhm.
So I think from the point of view of authors and just what I've seen over the last few years is how AI has come in, disrupted, shaken everybody up. And now it's almost like, hey, we can get beyond this because nothing beats a story that's authentically told from inside the skin of a real person. Because we
Mhm.
know when it's not authentic. We can feel that and see that now. And I think that's good news for authors who might have become a little bit disillusioned or frustrated or have anxiety about, you know, being replaced by the robot, because I think ultimately it's helping elevate our storytelling, not replacing us.
Yes, I would agree with that. And in fact, my son told me recently that he's using it, but he's using it to clean up grammar and spelling because he's not a great writer, but he's a good storyteller. And he's found that very useful. And I actually see the improvement within his manuscript with that. But then there's the other side where people write whole books and they're just so boring because there's no, how do you say it? I think you said oneness. There's no uniqueness there. There's no, um, it's boring. I guess that's the best way to put it. And I actually tried using one of those programs to just play around with it. And I was kind of disappointed because I had a story arc in mind and it completely changed my story arc. And I thought it made it boring from where it was supposed to be. So, I don't think you can rely on those programs and, just have it once through and that's your book.
Definitely not. It's derivative. And we all know what derivative storytelling is. Take romance for example. Because yeah, you could have ChatGPT write a romance novel for you, but it's gonna have that feeling of, okay, this is boring because it's all the tropes, right? All of the things we've heard before. There's no originality there. And that's why I think you need the human component to it. I think too, and being from LA originally, I think we both understand the entertainment industry and the literary industry too. There is a certain amount of your book needs to have this structure, the 3 act structure, the beats. It needs to save the cat. Like it needs to have even screenwriting, needs to have this certain format. And became so rigid in that format type of storytelling that the human component wasn't shining because a format, a structure, a beat sheet, those types of things can be helped with AI. So some of the things that were really hard for writers, they can lean on AI to help. And then if they're willing and able to put in, like you were talking about your son and his storytelling chops. So take your own storytelling chops, layer that over, use AI to assist you and to maybe give you some structure. And to your point, if you need some help just formulating the sentences and the structure and the grammar and stuff like that, I hate to say it, but a lot of the copy editors and developmental editors and line editors out there, they're the ones that actually are a little bit more on the chopping block because that author can, in almost real time, get that feedback they need. Hey, is this scene working? Wait, should this be structured differently? Can you take a pass at it and give it a nice line edit and copy edit for me? It'll do that. Oh my God. Now I'm going to start getting the hate emails, right? But I'm not saying that copy editors and the editing community should be replaced, but I think it's going to be able to elevate that manuscript even further because that's something we've been telling writers for a long, long time. Get it to a certain stage before you even show it to those editors or before you even shop around for an agent or a publisher. So I think authors now can do that a lot faster. And they're doing it in the way that they want. We've all heard the stories of authors who went to a developmental editor, and that developmental editor might not have synced with them, and they changed their voice
Oh,
or they
yes.
changed things so much that then the author didn't feel connected to their own work. And I think honestly that if an author uses AI correctly and the right way as a tool, that it will help elevate their voice rather than bury it.
Yes, I think so too. And the other thing about that is what I noticed with Tyler's writing is he's always had a difficult grasp with show versus tell. And he actually said, like, when it rewrites, I'm learning. Like, now I'm seeing what it should look like. And I'm starting to try to write more in that vein, which I think that is probably one of the most difficult things that we encounter with writing. And I know it's one of the things in my first couple books, which is horrible with it. But when it comes to the copy editors, our last 2 fiction novels that have come back have been the complaints been that there's been too much detail. And we've gotten that complaint. I'm sorry, not enough detail. The copy editor took a lot of the detail out, and people are kind of like, I'm not following the story as well as I used to. Um, but you know what's interesting? The Hollywood connection. I feel like those rigid rules, I don't know if you feel the same way, but those rigid rules have kind of limited what we see out there. And I'm really excited to see people like Michael Connolly, Tony Hillerman. I don't even know if he's alive anymore, but his books were fantastic. Colleen Hoover. So we're really starting to see some new stories come into the marketplace from authors that are very good and have new stuff. I think that's where Hollywood was getting old. They're just recycling.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Because I wanted the same thing over and over again because I knew it would sell. And it was like so formulaic. And we've heard that before. So, give me high concept, give me a retelling of a story everybody's heard or characters they already know, bring them back to universes they've already been in before. And I think you're right. This gives, readers, writers, people who love story in general, so many more options nowadays.
Yeah, it really does. It's sort of like we had a conversation before about when traditional publishing broke off. The result was traditional publishing didn't like it, but we got all these new amazing genres that were not mass market produced. And I think that was really lovely because you can get really granular when you choose a book now.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's one of the things too. You're nailing it. These are some of the opportunities that now exist out there. If you want to write mermaid meets werewolf romance based in outer space, there's a subgenre for that. You can kind of tick the boxes of things that you like. And if you're a reader, you can go down that rabbit hole with some of the writers that are getting very niche like that. So again, you're getting away from that high concept. Everybody's going to love this story because it's so, universal to the stuff that really gets into the nitty gritty of things. I think you're
Yeah.
exactly right.
Definitely. Okay, I'm going to ask you because people don't realize how challenging this industry is. What are some of the biggest challenges you faced at growing this company? Because everybody looks at publishing, they self-publish a book, and they go, "Oh, I can be a publisher now, and I can market a book now." And it's not easy. We were talking before about, you've got to be tough as nails in this industry. What are some of the things that you had to overcome when you started this?
That's still happening. And I feel it with books that make you, as well as Black Chateau and the Book Fest. I've got three brands and they're all in the industry and they all kind of do something a little bit different. But I think there's a lot of, I heard that this thing is what I should be doing. There's a lot of authors and industry folks that want to go chasing after those trends. And it's almost like a game of whack a mole, trying to decide what it is you should be doing and focusing on. I mean this in the sense of, for example, social media. There's a lot of folks out there that will tell you, you must be on social media no matter what. You have to be posting 3 times a day and doing this and creating this whole thing on social media. And I'd see these poor authors struggling to become a dancing author on TikTok because they were told that's what they're supposed to do.
Yes.
So whether it's that or they were told that it's easy to do your own keyword research on Amazon and find your own comp titles and do your own metadata. There are so many things out there that, sure, you could do yourself. There are some very unique unicorns out there, authors who can do it all, but they're unicorns because that is so incredibly rare. I think that the industry does a bit of a disservice to authors in trying to tell them that they can do stuff that maybe they honestly just can't, or they don't want to do. I've worked with authors who were with a crew of folks who were all do it yourselfers. They were the authorpreneur crowd, and they're a great crowd. But this author was like, I don't want to do all of those things. I want somebody else to do those things for
Right.
me or to help me. So I think there's a sense of, I need to listen to what everybody is saying and I need to do that thing because that's how I succeed. When the reality is, one should be very particular and pick out the things that they can do, that they want to do. And it goes back to what their goals are in releasing this book. And not all authors have the same goals, not even by a long shot. So if your goals to be an authorpreneur or your goals to launch your book don't fit with those authorpreneurs, you're going to be at odds, and then you're going to get frustrated and disillusioned and feel like the industry has let you down.
And I get a lot of feedback from that from people that have been published is, nobody told me it was this hard. And I think part of that is you're walking into a whole new industry. Your expertise may be finance, and then you walk into the book industry and you expect you're going to know everything about a particular industry in about 6 months. And I did this with somebody who's in the financial world. Like, I want to understand this. Well, returns are going to take me a day and a half to explain to you, and you probably still won't get it. So it's things like that where, they like, I'll put it this way. If you came to me and said, Juliet, can you build me a bridge? I could probably build you a bridge, but I don't think I would guarantee that you drive over it. Because I don't understand. I don't do physics. I don't, there are all these little ins and outs that you can tell if the author has been professionally published or not. And I get that all the time too. I can take one look at your book when you bring it after publishing and say, you self-published. And they don't understand that there are things missing that tell me that right off the bat.
Oh yeah. I'm with you on that. Yeah. All those little red flags is like, oh, wait, you don't have any front matter, front matter, stuff like that. You can just tell. And yeah, unfortunately, you're right. If you want to hire somebody to build you a bridge, then find that expert because they're going to make sure it has everything up to code that it needs to be. But there are folks out there who just want to self-publish a book just to get it out there because maybe they want it for a legacy, something for their family, and that's fine too. But I think that goes back to the goals. Do you want to be a prolific author and publish 2 or 3 books a year? Or is this your one and only opus that you just need to get the story out there? Is it a book that's going to help build up your business? Is the goal behind it establishing yourself as a thought leader in your industry, or maybe you're selling courses or something else? So again, it just goes back to what are your goals in doing it? Because in all of those things you need to do, from the actual technicalities of self-publishing it, the metadata and the layout and the cover design, to the marketing and the promotion and the PR, all of those things can then kind of fall into place once the goal is established.
Yes, absolutely. Okay, last question. What advice would you give to aspiring authors who want to be featured on books that make you?
Oh, well, I guess the advice I give to all authors, especially when it comes to, I get the question a lot, what can I do to ensure that my marketing and PR is successful? And I say, write a good book. If the book is good, you're halfway there. I actually have had, you might appreciate this or not appreciate it. I've actually had folks come to me and say, oh, well, there's books that are on the market that really suck. It's all about the marketing. So, I know my book isn't that great. Can your marketing and PR help me get there? And to that, I say, no. I mean, there's a few flashes in the pans that and opinions vary, right? Everybody has their own opinion. So don't discount a book just because it's, not written the way you would do it. But I would say that if your book is good, if it's got something to it that je ne sais quoi, that is going to pull in readers, it might be because it follows a lot of the romance tropes and you're in the romance genre, but you gave it a new spin and people are going to love it. It might be because there's a message behind it. Think about when the book The Secret came out. Oh my God, what is The Secret? Everybody had to know what The Secret is. Does it have an interesting hook to it? Is it something we haven't seen before? So in writing a really good book, it makes you pitchable, not only to books that make you and the books that make you family of brands and the show, but to everybody else that's out there. Because if somebody is going to have you up on their stage, maybe speak on a panel or do a podcast with you, talk to you about your books, maybe even it's just at your local farmer's market or your own book signing at your local bookstore, people are asking, why you? Why this author? Why this book? Why should I buy it? Why should I talk to them? Why should I listen to them? And when you think in terms of, yeah, why my book? Why me? Why am I a perfect fit for this? Answer that question, and that's going to get you farther than if you're just, hey, look at me, I wrote a book, talk to me about my book, and you send a bio that only has information that doesn't explain why. Now that's kind of the big picture stuff, but brass tacks, if somebody wants to pitch themselves for the books that make you show or do books that make you promotions with us, we do book advertising and we do book reviews, editorial style reviews. You can find that on the Books That Make You website, or just drop me an email if you want some more information or you want to pitch yourself for the show. I'm happy to talk to you about it.
Well, that was a great segue. Where do we find you?
Right. I like the way you set that up, Juliet. Um, you can find me just if you go to the Books That Make You website and you hit contact us, the same thing with Black Chateau. Black Chateau Enterprises is like the parent company. Black Chateau is the PR marketing firm underneath, Books That Make You is underneath, and the Book Fest is underneath too. So you can always go to the Black Chateau Enterprises website and where it says talk to us or contact us. Those emails, by the way, they don't go into some kind of crazy, barrel somewhere that's forgotten. I actually see those personally myself. So that's probably the best way to get in touch with me.
Oh, that's very cool. And you guys, you'll be happy to know after so much information here that we are going to start highlighting. Desiree is going to be becoming a contributor with her blogs for the magazine. So you're going to see a lot more of her. And she has such a diverse group of product offerings. They're so much different than what we have. So, there's room for everybody in this industry. And that's what makes it so unique. Desiree, thank you.
My pleasure. Thank you, Juliet.